Good evening. Welcome to Gay Liberation Network's live call-in show. Tonight we are having a show on U.S. immigration law and how it is tearing LGBTs apart. We've got a special guest this evening, Paul Coyle, and I am Brent Holman-Gomez with GLN. So immigration has been all of the topic of the nation lately in Washington as well as on the street, and there are many aspects of why this is an LGBTQ issue for Americans. The biggest one that everybody's kind of familiar with, I think, is if you are an LGBTQ person who's an immigrant, anyone would say that the biggest thing holding them back from true freedom in this country are the current immigration laws. Tonight, we're going to talk about a particular aspect of that, and it is same-sex couples in binational relationships where one is a U.S. citizen and one is from another country. So before we get into that into that topic, we want to make sure that you know that this is a live call-in show. The number's at the bottom of the screen, and we do encourage you to call in with your questions and comments. Gay Liberation Network is Chicago's direct action LGBTQ rights organization, and we are working in solidarity on many fronts, including immigration, which we're going to talk about this evening. And you can check out more information on Gay Liberation Network at our website, www.gayliberation.net. So, as I said, we're going to be talking about binational couples. This is the situation that can occur with any couple where someone is from the United States and their spouse or lover is from a foreign country. Heterosexual couples have the access to marriage rights, which give them certain immigration benefits. Same-sex couples in this country do not have that right, and we're going to talk about that for the rest of this show until about 7 o'clock. Paul Coyle is here. He is an attorney with Vedder Price, and is in personally, he is in a relationship with someone from another country. Tell us about your binational relationship, Paul.
Well, thanks for having me. I've been in a relationship for just about 11 years now with James. I'm from Chicago, born and raised, and James is from Toronto, originally from Newfoundland, and we met in Toronto just about 10 and a half years ago. And just like any other couple, we met and fell in love and started talking on the phone an hour at a time, 4 hours at a time. And then it was always in the back of my mind that because he was from Canada, this potentially was going to be an issue, and we were always trying to be careful about him coming to the U.S. and we would travel back and forth. but it was really about a year and a half ago. We were like any other couple, been together 10 years, any other married couple. Cook dinner together, you watch TV together, you fight, things like that, But always
the cats.
Right, raise our 3 kitties. But always in the back of my mind, it was, we didn't have those rights, and what were we going to do? And, we were just desperate for the laws to change.
So what happened about a year and a half ago that brought immigration directly into your relationship?
Yeah. But James was stopped in December of 2011. He went home right before the holidays just to, take care of things in Canada. He was going to come back a couple of weeks later. He was stopped. Really, just we don't know why, but it was what we think is because he was coming in and out of the U.S. so frequently, and so they asked questions, pulled him in. Once you get pulled into secondary screening, you're just tagged. You can never travel as freely again, and it's just astounding to me. And when I tell people how it's not as easy, to get into the U.S., and when I tell people, well, this is what we're going through, and this is how devastating it is, and people just don't appreciate how, the magnitude of the effect on your life, and it's really hard to get across to people. You go to work, you're just used to a normal routine with your partner in life, and when that's taken away from you, it's really, it's just devastating.
And so after going for about 10 years of living together and spending your days and nights together, over the last year and a half, you have been separated most of the time, correct?
Correct. And each time he tries to come back into the U.S., we just don't know if he's going to get in. I mean, the customs and immigration have an astronomical amount of discretion, and really what they say goes. It's just a wait-and-see process, and sometimes he's been grilled for 2.5 hours. Sometimes he'll get in. We've got a fantastic lawyer, Coyle from Fragaman, now represents us and just did an unbelievable job, and continues to do so in keeping James, trying to get him in. But still, we just don't know, and that's what's so frustrating. And it's unbelievable. And to think that I'm a citizen of the U.S., I pay taxes. I think about the government. Someone said to me today, if I'm not going to get all of the rights that everyone else gets, straight couples gets, then I don't want to pay taxes. Give me a 50% break on taxes.
Right. And just like so many things that are going on with immigration, which is the reason why we need changes to these immigration laws, there is no method for James to figure out a way to get into the country. There's no other way for us to do this. And part of the reason for same-sex couples is the Defense of Marriage Act, which says that the federal government, which is the only party which can enact immigration laws and enforce rules, that the federal government cannot recognize a same-sex couple for those marriage benefits. So even if you move to the state of Massachusetts and get married, that's not going to solve this problem.
No, and that's a great point. I think one of the biggest things, I'm a lawyer, I work with lawyers, to hear other people, who are my colleagues say, why don't you just move to New York? Just move to a state. I think that's what's been enlightening to me, that if educated people don't understand the basic aspects of the law, how do we expect general population to? And I think honestly that's because if most of the public realized how discriminatory and bigoted these laws were, they wouldn't be in effect. Right. Because
you can learn more about the situation at there's a group called immigrationequality.org. Both Paul and I are actively involved with this organization and highly recommend it. It's got all of the authoritative elements of the laws that we're talking about, as well as our situations.
And it's got direct links to other areas that you can go to support. Call your senators and ask them to support these laws as well.
We do invite your calls. Right now we are going to tell you about some actions that Gay Liberation Network has planned in the near future. Tomorrow, you can come out and protest a group of anti-gay bigots that are going to be trying to stop marriage laws being passed here in the state of Illinois. We're going to Chicago Heights tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. at 195 West Joe Orr Road. Hope to see you there. And calling attention June 8th to Bradley Manning, the gay soldier of the Army that has been held in jail for several years now for releasing some documents to WikiLeaks that showed exactly what our military is doing all around the world. And we want to call everybody's attention to decision day of when the Supreme Court will be announcing their decision on the Defense of Marriage Act, which would affect our conversation that we're having here this evening on immigration issues for binational couples. That evening, the day of the decision being announced, we will be meeting at the corner of Halsted and Roscoe Streets at 7 p.m., and you can look for additional information at the website dayofdecision.org. So, one of the topics that Paul and I were talking about earlier is both of us are in relationships with immigrants and are in this situation of not being able to sponsor and keep our partners securely here in this country with us. And notably, there is not an immigrant on this show. We have tried. We are connected with lots of people in these situations, and the immigrant partners do not have the confidence to come on this show, particularly because of their concern with their own rights and ability to potentially maybe someday access immigration rights, and what this advocacy for their own rights would do for them and possibly hold them back. And that is a sad state of affairs for immigrants, that we are oppressing them so much that they don't feel that they can publicly, enjoy their freedom of the press and come out and freedom of speech, for that matter, and come out and talk about their issues. Paul,
yeah. I was to that point. I was concerned about coming on. Was one of my first responses to Brent's invitation was, with James, I didn't want to give his last name. I was concerned. Start thinking about all these things. Are they going to, if I mention when he was stopped, or is customs are they looking? Do they watch these shows? And you just don't know. You just can't take. You can't take the risk. So it's scary because that's your life.
Yeah. So what's the current situation? How are you and James seeing each other?
We're just very cautiously optimistic that the Defense of Marriage Act will fail. We're also hoping that the Uniting Americans Family Act will be included in comprehensive immigration, which essentially, as you know, just gives U.S.-born citizens and law-abiding residents the right to sponsor their foreign-born same-sex partners. We just want to be given the same rights and obligations that heterosexual couples are given. So we're hopeful that one of the two will pass in soon.
Mm-hmm. At the moment, you two have just recently been reunited.
We have. James luckily got back into the U.S. Last week. Mm-hmm. So, we're hopeful, but we just don't know. He's only allowed to be here for a short amount of time, and it's just not knowing. It's living, 2 months at a time. I can't plan anything, and luckily, like I say, I'm blessed that I have a job. I'm able financially, and Toronto isn't a far place to go. But I've met so many couples in binational relationships who are in relationships with folks, and their partners are in Venezuela or far away places, and they don't have the money to travel, or the hours are different, or if they have kids. This is just it's unbelievable. And I think it's just all educating the people and the public as to how offensive this is.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of options. I mean, you don't necessarily have the ability to take your ability to practice law in the United States to the country where James is from.
Right.
You can't just pick up and move your whole career and life easily and be able to continue to to be a productive member of society. And so that's what we want this country to refocus, and the population and you at home to be focused on, what can help your fellow person be a full member of this society, and immigration rights, and changing the laws to further to open up the borders of this country to allow people to pursue their loves and their careers is the goal.
Right.
So we've talked about a couple of things. One, you mentioned this Uniting American Families Act. This is an amendment right now that is on the proposed immigration reform bill in the Senate. It has been in various forms out in Congress for about 13 years, that Congress has had a bill to vote on to include us for immigration for 13 years, and at this point it still is pie in the sky. We've got a caller, and we welcome you, caller. Hello, caller.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I understand that the bill that this the so-called Gang of Eight has proposed, including Dick Durbin from Illinois, does not, in its initial form, include LGBT people. Could you comment about that? And supposedly Durbin is very close to Obama, so why aren't gays included?
Great question.
Paul met with Durbin last week, so
Great question. I did, with the folks with Immigration Equality. We met with him to garner his support for the Uniting American Families Act, and he was supportive to us. I question why it wasn't included in the original act if the Democrats were so supportive, but nevertheless, it's been proposed in one of the amendments, and we're grateful to Senator Leahy, who just recently, I think, signed that on a few days ago. So we're hopeful.
So yeah, there is hope that it will be included, but it is definitely a slap in the face to us being constituents of Representative Durbin, who has heard from us for many times, and Senator Durbin, who has heard from us on many occasions that he did not fight further for us to be included in the original bill that is making some progress in the halls of Congress.
But to that point, for anyone out there who wants to know what can I do, I would encourage folks to go to immigrationequality.org and look on the website, and it'll encourage you to contact your senators to support things like this.
And the website's now on your screen here. But this, this is just a repeat of many verbal conversations that Obama has and that Durbin has that say that, that they are friendly to the LGBTQ community, and then allow the status quo, which is tearing apart our couples and leaving Paul without, his partner. My partner 4 years ago was formally deported from this country. So, it is tearing us apart. And that is the status quo of what these folks, Durbin, Obama, everyone that has power on this issue, that is what they're supporting by their inaction. So legislative reform is one thing that is going on. The other potential hope that we have is the Supreme Court decision on the Defense of Marriage Act. And that would, if the Defense of Marriage Act was struck down, that would change the dynamics of whether same-sex couples would have some of these federal benefits, such as immigration, that the heterosexual couples have. And you can get some more information on that, as we said earlier, at Day of So, okay, immigrationequality.org. Go visit it. Get your information. Tomorrow, come out and support us in our fight against the Illinois Family Institute's efforts to stop marriage equality here in the state of Illinois. 10:30 a.m. in Chicago Heights. Bradley Manning, get him out of prison, bring him to Pride pride parades. So the day of action for that is Saturday, June 8th. And you can get more information on that at our website, which I'll announce later on. We were just talking about the Defense of Marriage Act, and the Supreme Court is going to be making their decision. When they make their decision, at 7 p.m. on that day, we will be meeting at Halsted and Roscoe Street here in Chicago to begin the celebration and or the continued fight for continued inclusion. Please remember to check out Gay Liberation Network, and you can join us for our organizing meeting the first Wednesday of every month. The next one is 7 p.m. Wednesday, June 5th at Burger Park Cultural Center, just off the Granville stop on the Red Line. Gay Liberation Network hosts this CanTV show once a month. The next one you can see 6:30 p.m. Friday, June 14th. And check out our website at gayliberation.net for additional information on all of these items. Paul, do you have a closing comment?
I think just to let people know, just to think about, a lot of times when you try to understand the magnitude of what this means to folks in situations like mine, a lot of people just go home, they go on with their normal lives, they go home and have family with, dinner with their family, and I go home alone. And that's just not right.
Good night.
Good night.